Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you. I know.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Now, over the last few nights we've been focusing on the injustice of the justice system in South Africa today, as well as a hot topic ignored by the mainstream media: farm attacks and murders in South Africa. In the murder capital of the world, i.e. South Africa, the ANC government now want to take away their citizens' rights to defend themselves in their homes with a firearm. This contentious issue surfaces at the very time that the politicians have increased their budgets for personal security to billions of rands per year, while reducing funding of the South African Police Service. The ANC are clearly out of touch with reality and are corrupt and self-serving in every manner possible. Tonight I talked to Marius Harding about the subject of the proposed new gun laws, which removes your right to defend yourself in South Africa. Please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube and to register on lovinglifetv.com, our new platform, which we aim to make the largest independent online news source covering South Africa. Okay, I'm going to get Marius Harding on so we can get the show on the road. Here we go. I spoke to Marius only 20 minutes ago, so I think we just got a little Skype technical glitch. I'm just going to try again. Here we go. Marlena, if you wouldn't mind just contacting Marius and saying to him we're trying to make contact on Skype. There we go. Hi, Marius.
Hello. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Excellent, thank you, Marius. Okay, Now, can you put your phone down so it doesn't move the whole time? Put it on a surface, or just just have it so it's stable.
Let's see. It work. Will it work like this?
That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. And tell me, what sort of buck is that in the background behind your right shoulder? It's beautiful, beautiful pair of horns.
The kudu.
Kudu, wow, okay. All right, now that we got that out the way, Marius, we got a very contentious topic to talk about tonight. We're talking about the stripping of weapons of the citizens of South Africa, aren't we?
Yes.
Right. Now, within the law, all people have a right to life. If you have a right to life, surely you have a right to defend that life.
Yes, Scott. That basically goes without saying, and the minister. I just want to tell a small tale about this. Is I years ago I used to farm, and we caught the baboon stealing the watermelon. So in the process, there was a little baboon. His mother died, and we have this newborn little baboon, and uh, so one of my children adopted this little baby and give it the bottle and some diapers and grow it up, and that was years before Jacob Zuma became president, and I called this little baboon Jacob Zuma, and people say,
Okay.
how do that? I say, you name streets and all after whoever you want to. How can it be not right if I call my little baby baboon Jacob Zuma? Nevertheless, subsequently in years to come, I found out that this little Zuma was actually more comprehensive. He actually thought more about his decisions than the one he was named after.
I bet he could
And
count better too.
yeah, and yeah. Look, when Jacob Zuma became president, I said to people that, especially to the staff, I said to them, look, if Jacob Zuma become president, I'll make this Jacob Zuma the foreman on the farm. So it was when we gave him the packages on a month end. This little Zuma sit on the tractor with all his paid packages and he chuck it in the air. And then I say, well, he knows better than he's a better foreman than what Jacob Zuma is running the country. Now, a lot of people say this is bad and whatever, but I must say, this little Zuma was like 20 times more attentive to what happens around him than Becky Cele is when he's saying he's going to take away the laws, or he's going to alter the laws that you cannot protect yourself. That's insane. It's against the Constitution. It's against the international laws, against international accords which South Africa have signed. And all of this give you the right to live. And if you have the right to live, then the right to life, then surely you have the right to protect that. And not Cele or any of these ministers which supposedly support this law will show us that they honestly believe in this by disarming their VIP protection. I mean, if Cele stated that it's no longer good to protect yourself with a firearm, your life with a firearm, then surely he should be the first person to say to his VIP, Oaks, listen, we give you some whistles, and now you can stand here with your whistles and you protect me. He will not go for that. It's bullshit.
Yeah, well, can I just
But
say, Marius, that apparently, in fact, I'm pretty sure this is correct. The ANC government have just increased their budget for their personal security by billions of rands. You know, we're talking about people who are going to protect them if they're under threat. And I also just want to add a statement of fact, and that is that common sense is not the strong suite of the ANC government. You just have to look no further than the irrational regulations that they brought in during the lockdown. Absolutely crazy. Sorry, back to you.
yes, but you see, Scott, there's a lot of people who wants to sign petitions and whatever against the changing of the law. And I'm saying no. We should look at this completely different. We should oppose that the police may govern the firearm licenses, because we have a situation in South Africa that the police have lost more firearms. Well, they've lost over a 5-year period at least 20 times more firearms than the public together. So, which means in terms of the current law, they should be declared unfit to let's say, have firearms and have it in their possession. Because if you a security,
Can I
if
just
you,
correct you? Can I just
yeah,
correct you on something there? They haven't lost them. They've sold them to their mates, the criminals. That's what they've done. They're not lost.
yeah, no, we know them, but officially they have lost them. Okay,
Yeah.
we know they're selling them. I mean, I've on a previous chat with you, I've indicated in the lockdown time, if you want to buy some smoke, you call the cops and you say, please deliver me this amount of cigarettes, I'll pay you this much, and the police van will come and deliver it to you.
Yeah.
This is how it works in South Africa. So I don't have any doubts that they're actually selling it. I haven't bought from the cops any guns, so I cannot, on record state that I've bought any of them. But the point I'm making is on their own figures, and one must know, they say they have lost 24,000 guns over 5 years' time. My question is, how can they say it? They don't even know how much guns they have. So how can they cannot make a calculation and say this is the amount we lost. And the same for the military. I mean, they've lost thousands. If you cash in transits, they don't use AK-47s anymore. They use R5 rifles. This is what they're going with, and that comes from
explosives.
the explosives is military stuff. So, point I'm making is, according to the current law, which is currently still law, the police should be declared unfit for handling firearms. Now, we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about the head of the police. And for that matter, if you look at that, how is it possible that an organization which is within the brackets of the current law, unfit to control firearms, allowed to govern the licensing of firearms? It's insane. I mean, if you tell this to a 5-year-old kid, he will say, "This is not true. You lying to me."
No,
So
Marius. Marius, have you seen the licensing office where all the 250,000 licensing documents are filed and not one is being approved because no one's doing anything with them?
Yes, no, but that's. I almost want to say that specific picture. I've seen. Look, since I advocated that I want to take this on head first, a lot of information has been sent to me, but including that video clip, which doesn't to me have a lot of substance because I cannot see on the video clip that it's actually the firearm register or the licensing department, but uh, I can say it's more credible than telling me COVID exists.
Well,
You understand? So
Marius, I can tell you it was taken in the fire licensing office because it was a member of parliament, member of the Freedom Front Plus, who actually took that video when they were going through the building because they requested to see what was happening. He took the video, so
yes,
it's actually from that office.
but that just put more wood on the fire because the point is we cannot allow them to actually go forward. Now, my action is not just on the new legislation, but already on the old legislation. And that video you referring to actually prove 100% that they're not capable of doing this. Now, if you test it, if you actually practically test the issuing of a firearm license in South Africa, you will see they have a lot of checkpoints which you need to tick off. But in principle, the police officer who issue this will be or give a let's say a overview, and he's part of the story. Then for central firearm licensing to do this, he actually never goes and check if you have a safe. You give him a picture. You took it somebody in the shop. Take a picture of a safe, and you give him this picture, and he will never come and visit your house or anything. So, what I'm saying is, every second taxi driver have a firearm, a
Yeah.
legal firearm. Uh, Whether you have a safe or not is immaterial. Uh, and this government have proved that they cannot control firearms. Now, one of the things one need to understand is if I go into a bank with an assault rifle, I hands up the cashier and say, "Give me your cash." I know inside that bank, I'm the only guy who have a firearm. If it was a question that there's 50 people in the bank and each and every one have a firearm, I would be in a life-threatening position because a guy can just stand around the corner and pop me through the head because I didn't see him. But you will be much safer in an environment where everybody have firearms because then the crook is not the gun, is not the only gun. Now, in terms of our current firearm licensing, they go off the view that they omit the fact that all the crime takes place with unlicensed firearms. So it's really stupid to try to govern the licensed firearms stricter, where the problem is with the unlicensed guns. If one asks, and I've written to the Freedom Front Plus and other parliamentary organizations and asked them that the facts be on the table to actually declare how many crimes actually exist through legal firearms. And it seems to me if everybody is too afraid to actually ask that, and I doubt if the police or any organization or political party would be able to answer the question, how many crimes exist or has been recorded with licensed firearms. And I can tell you it will be maybe 0.001 or something like that, percentage wise.
Now, can I
So the
just say,
problem,
Marius, that that point that
yeah,
you've just raised is really the elephant in the room, because you know once your firearm has been licensed, it can be tracked. Now, the illegal firearms, which are in the majority in South Africa, are what the ANC government should be targeting, not the gun owners who've actually done the right thing. That is absolutely right on the money. Please go ahead.
yes. So, but what I'm saying is, even if one says this, you can say to yourself, surely the others who's applying the law doesn't know what they're doing. And we as citizens is now protesting changes in the law from a body which shouldn't be allowed to do that. So my suggestion is we tackle them in court, but before we go to court, we establish our own licensing department. So I'm inviting all all gun associations in South Africa, activists and everybody to contact me. We sit together and we start issuing, parallel to the government, new licenses, our own licenses. And we can have rules and we can sit around the table to discuss what is the criteria. And we do it properly like us Boers do things. And we actually start to register people to have their guns. For phase one, we only license parallel to government. So we only license uh, already licensed guns. And then we go further to a second phase to license new guns. And that is the point where we need to take them to a court. Uh, for what it's worth, I know they not really worried about what the court say. They don't make their own rules. Uh, but that the court can declare our licensing system as a authority to license firearms. Now, if they get me with a firearm and I didn't renew my license with the SAPS, but I have another license, then they need to accuse me of having an unlicensed gun. And they will do that on the basis that I have a license from a licensing authority which is not recognized. So what I'm proposing is that we do a parallel system and then we ask the court to actually legalize the parallel licensing system. Because like I spoke before on your channel about the parallel economy, we need to actually not talk about things, but to do things. And one of these things, which is a great concern now at this point in time, is the licensing of firearms, which I think we should go ahead, do it, and just enforce our own system of gun licensing guns.
Right. Well, look, I've got a suggestion. On the 31st of May, I had a live stream with the ZARB, which is basically the Vryburgers, the free Boers, who are saying we're going to be free. We're going to set up our own court, under common law. We are not going to be beholden anymore to the ANC government. Now, wouldn't it be a good starting point if that group of people established exactly what you're talking about as a free people outside the ANC government, and just establish this licensing database, do it properly, and just have civil disobedience against the ANC, have nothing to do with the ANC, because the ANC have shown that they're just a bunch of gangsters. They're not running the country, they're destroying the country. And if people just generally said, middle finger to the ANC, there's no way you're getting my gun, we're going to register it with a totally independent body. Like I said, the Boer folk, who basically are now emancipated, they're totally independent from the ANC, and they are not going to be beholden to the ANC anymore. Don't you think that's possibly another option when it comes to licensing guns?
Well, that is exactly what I'm saying, because if we license this ourselves, then it's not a licensed gun. It's a licensed gun. It's a controlled gun. It's a gun where there actually is ballistics. And I want to ask the police to show me only one. I actually addressed this. I hope somebody sends this to Sheila. He must show me one licensed gun, one only, where I can give him a bullet which was shot from that gun, and he can, through his ballistic department, actually tell me whose gun it is. And I'm calling him tonight a bullshitter if he actually can do that. If you think the firearm register is in shambles, you must go and have a look at what is happening at the forensic department. So, to tell me they can track it, it's a matter of impossibility. They're not capable to do that. But if we do a parallel licensing, we will actually have a shot from that very gun, keep the bullet, do the forensics, and so we can immediately track it. So what I'm saying is we will do it the right way and have it parallel. And it doesn't matter. I'm not so keen with the idea of let's say to put a political connotation to it, because I think amongst the black tribes, the Zulus, the Tswanas, all of these black tribes will join in our fight, because this is not a political issue. It's not a dividing issue between us. It's an issue of, we all know that the ANC government and their police force cannot and should not be able to license firearms in South Africa.
Yeah, well, it's a life and death issue, really, because I'm going to be covering tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock the bail hearing of those alleged murderers of Brendan Horner in Senegal. And Petra Sito is going to be there, and he will be the person reporting back to us from the courthouse. That's happening 9 o'clock Friday morning, live on Loving Life and lovinglifetv.com. Now, the reason I'm raising this is because you just talked about DNA. South Africa is the rape capital of the world. The best way to get forensic evidence is through DNA. You know that they haven't done one DNA test in their forensic labs since the 1st of January because they don't have the money to pay to the contractors. You know, this is how absolutely ridiculous the situation has become. The word forensic is a foreign word to them. It might as well be flying to the moon, because they got more chance of flying to the friggin' moon than they have of sorting out their problems with DNA testing, forensics, and that sort of shit under Bekesele. He is a complete a-hole, and I'm being very kind. You know, we call him the Schlaudi Mutzeneng of the ministry in the ANC government. He is completely clueless. And this is where I get really hot under the collar, because you've got people who are completely incompetent trying to take on a system that worked perfectly, and I'm talking about pre-1994. They haven't got a clue. They've put their cadres in there. The whole thing is falling apart, and now they're trying to strip people of the rights of having guns, because that'll probably save them registering a lot of guns. And you get these fat-ass ANC cadres who are taking huge salaries, doing absolutely nothing, just having less to do.
Well, I view it as such. If you have a grade 1 class and you call them together and you say, listen, you each must come tomorrow back with a new law which we're going to implement in this country. You will actually have more sense in laws than what this ANC government is imposing laws today. So if one takes it like that, and I actually invite people to actually test this, especially teachers. Go tell your lower grade kids to come with suggestions on new laws, and I guarantee you will have better suggestions than this ANC. This law which Sele has now just proposed, um, if you actually read the document, you start to laugh because you realize this oak doesn't know his ass from his face, and it's on the table. The point is, are we resisting this change, or are we resisting the entire system of licensing? And now, since I aired this little voice clip to say I want people to join, I have actually 9 attorneys, which is forming a panel, and from 9 different firms to join in to investigate my claim that I think it's a constitutional flaw, and we should take this to the Constitutional Court. And once we have done that and proved to the panel of judges or whatever will sit on this case, that the police is on a fairly judge scale incompetent to run this. Sorry, Scott, I have a terrible flu. I just need to
No, that's fine. That's fine.
my nose.
Look, while you're doing that, I just want to raise something that a lot of people might not realize, and that is the fact that the actual legislation being put forward on these new gun laws is being prepared by a person who works for George Soros from the Open Society Foundation. I hope you're sitting down when you heard what I said. That is a fact. I actually did a video about this particular issue just a few days ago. But the Open Society Foundation in Cape Town are actually writing the legislation for these new laws that are going to strip you of the ability to defend yourself with a gun. That's George Soros. And that is what's going on behind the scenes. Back to you, Maurice.
Yeah, just on that subject, Scott, the Open Society in South Africa was initiated by Dr. Van Zyl Slabber. And if people read his book, you will see how he was invited by George Soros and asked if he would chair the opening of the Open Society in South Africa. And you will find the details how it went forward. And the DA management may be called upon this to prove to me that the head office is not in a building owned by the Open Society.
Hang on, did you just say that the DA's offices in Cape Town are owned by the Open Society Foundation?
Yes, that's a fact. So what I'm saying,
the Democratic Alliance, are they operating out of an Open Society Foundation building?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and
wow. Hang on. I've got to say that is explosive news. I'm taking what you're saying is correct there. That is wow. That's the end of the DA, because they would have to be tied up with George Soros.
You must remember this comes from the time of the progressive what were a PFP, Progressive Federal Party. That comes from Dr. Van Zyl Slabber's time, and he resigned in. One can look it up. I'm not knowing this information 100% correctly off my head, but I think in 1985 he resigned as the head of the PFP, and then he went ahead and he started the I cannot remember what they called them, but the organization who arranged the Dakar meeting with the ANC, and further along in about 1987, he started the Open Society in South Africa. And one must be careful to just hit them on the nose, because there's certain things they do good. Now, I'm not their friend or anything, but I'm quite familiar with their doings in South Africa, and I'm actually writing to them to help to get the problem in the jails for trial waiting prisoners, to get them to move in on that. And they have done some very good work in terms of international law and etc. to better the situation. And I tell you why I'm involved with that. If you Google a guy named Leon Kukamur, I would like to have him on your show sometime, that he can explain. He was sitting trial waiting for almost 4 years in jail, and under very, very terrible conditions. His whole life have changed upside down, and the state couldn't prove one single case against him. They accused him at start at 11 points, including want to overthrow the government and terrorism and all this kind of thing. But they couldn't prove a single point. Now, again, he's suing the government now for a lot of money, but you cannot really fight it on that basis, because the conditions he was jailed with. My own son, Marius Harding Jr., was in jail for just over 2 years on the KFC matter, where he couldn't get bail. And the point is, the government is actively against white people, and we can fight that on the basis of that they discriminate against white people. But for the same matter, I don't think it's fair to have a person of any color in a jail with a very, very low chance of convicting me, but keep him in that conditions. And so anyway, what I want to say is the Open Society do some good work as well. So one must actually manage them and not let them manage us. So you need to occupy them with some work to do. And it's a very interesting way how they do it. But for this matter at hand, where they were actually the initiators of implementing this new law, just show that the actual minister didn't spend 1 second in investigating that same thing. And there's attorneys which have actually filed to call him out. They act on behalf of the South African Gun Association, and they ask the ministry to put forward only one interview they had, because they claim in public that they had their suggestion of this new law is based on thoroughly investigating this, and they thoroughly investigating this is not even one single investigation, not one single communication with any firearm association in the country. So they just blatantly lied to the public. And now the point is, either we take them on about their lies, or we take them off the table about their lies. And this is what I'm suggesting, is we don't argue with them about their little lies. We take them to say you're not capable of licensing our firearms. We will not allow you to do it anymore. So now we do it ourselves and stuff you. Um, and that again, what is nice about this thing is we need to realize that a person's gun, a person who carry a gun in this country, have a certain characteristic. For one, he say, "I'm not a walkover." So once you actually, and I can say that this doesn't matter if it's a black or white person or whatever. If a person actually carry a licensed gun on him, he's serious about want to be able to keep alive, to survive. So in that regard, you're dealing with a specific type of person, and we got to elaborate on that and take the opportunity to show this government we're going to show them a middle finger and start licensing our guns ourselves and just ignore the silly system and silly laws. Then they can carry on making laws as they wish. We will just not adhere to it.
Well, I find it very interesting that one of your suggestions, and I think it makes an awful lot of sense, is that people who actually apply for guns legally and who have a license, they should get a tax rebate for actually paying when buying that gun, because they are doing the work that the police are incapable of doing. So they are like citizen police. South Africa, you don't have a police force. You have a bunch of, I think you called them Jacob Zumas at the very start of this program. And I know there's some good police out there, believe me. I know there's still some good police out there, but in some parts like Umkomaas, you've got Jacob Zumas who are running the show. But sorry, back to you, Maurice.
I must say, the good policemen have all one thing in common, and they can tell you a lot about the bad police. So, I'm not knocking a guy who's doing his job, but at the top level, they corrupt to the core, and we should just not take it. Back to the tax issue, I've said this before on your program, and I'm going to repeat this. The biggest beneficiary, if you investigate any crime, you must look for a motive. The biggest motive or the biggest beneficiary of any crime in this country is the government. If they steal your bucket tonight and it's R500,000, double cab, the hotel, whatever, the crook who actually steal it will maybe receive 500 to a grand. 500 rand to 1 grand for stealing the vehicle. His boss will make some money out of the tires and the battery and whatever. But the biggest beneficiary of this would be the government, because on a new one, you will need to pay VAT. And that exceeds all the other parties' motives. So what I'm saying is, for this government to survive, they need to promote crime, because crime pays. So we as citizens should demand that on anything which you replace because it was stolen, we should not pay VAT. And for the same argument, we should say, if I go buy a firearm, it's to do the job which the police was supposed to do. And it's on record from this very same Becky Selle said in Natal. You had a video clip on your channel where he said citizens should protect themselves because the police cannot have a policeman on your left and right all the time. So for that matter, if you go buy a gun to carry it as a protection, it means that you're doing what the police should do, and therefore you should actually get a tax. You should be able to 100% deduct a firearm which you buy for protection from your annual tax.
Right. You don't get me disagreeing with that thought. I think that's a great idea. But And we come back to the issue, and I just want to touch on this once more, with the involvement of the Open Society Foundation. They're the guys who are also putting through the legislation for expropriation without compensation. And that's been done by Professor Ruth Hall, who works for the Open Society Foundation in an organization whose cover name is PLAS, Plaas. And you can Google that and you'll find all the information you require there. They've got their fingers all over what's happening in South Africa, when it comes to policy. And this is very disturbing because we know that Soros is not the friend of the average person. He's got his own agenda and he's screwing up Europe, and through his policies in South Africa, he's bringing in things like taking away the right to actually be able to defend yourself with a gun in South Africa. That's why I just think that there's a snake in the grass that's ready to strike.
Look, with the Scott, you will recall in the past I've said on your program that one should be very careful about how one evaluate this kind of things, because with the expropriation without compensation, I'm fully for that. And people will jump up now and say, this is a heavy statement. But you see what has happened is one must use this people for your own benefit. And for me, if you page back to the Boer War, you will find that the Boer War actually happened that people get the mineral right, and they actually had murdered our people to get the minerals. Now, today, these same people, like you have just confirmed now, is pushing these laws for expropriation. Now, what we should do is, as good citizens of this country, we should educate the ANC second line, the up and coming leaders within the ANC. We should educate them that based on the law of expropriation without compensation, they can take all the mines in this country for themselves. So all the mining houses which are sitting in the city of London, which is actually funding this and giving millions to the Open Society to push this expropriation, they actually the ones who can lose the most. Because if we manage to put the Bobbejaan Springbok, what you call it, the tarantula, and a scorpion in a bottle, and we shake it up a little bit, they're gonna have a good fight. Now, with this expropriation without compensation, which they try to push, the question is, do these people really want to take a farm out of the 12,000 farms they took already or bought or whatever? I think it's less than a dozen, which is actually productive. They actually never wanted the farms. They want money. So if they really want money, I'm saying go get yourself a mine. And based on the wording of the expropriation bill, which they want to push through, they can actually go take the mines. And then I'm laughing. And I'm really sitting on my stoop and smoking my pipe and laugh about how the tarantula and the scorpion is killing each other. So on the expropriation thing, I see that differently. It can work fantastic for our Boers. And I mean, after all, the businesses in South Africa, there's very few who really turns out profit. A lot of people actually don't realize how bad the economy is. But the point is, there's no more room for the ANC government to extract money to waste. And each of them, they're sitting in a pub and drinking like the best whiskey and tell each other, where's the money? We're hungry. We want more money. Now, if they talk about that, there should be somebody who's just telling them, hey, listen, look at the mine. So that the expropriation without compensation can just turn 180 degrees back and hit them on the nose. So much for that. I don't want to deviate
Yeah, let's get back
far
to the guns.
from our subject.
Yeah, I just want to make one quick little point that nationalization of the mines will never happen because people like Ramaphosa are big BBBEE shareholders in mining companies like Lonhro. You know, they're never going to they're never going to nationalize their assets. But okay, let's continue now. I raised the point before you came on that the ANC government have just raised their budget for protecting VIPs and members of parliaments to billions of rands each year. Now, you make a very good point that Minister Bekesele should immediately disarm all VIP protection units as a display to the public that he believes guns should not be used for protection. And what you're saying, in effect, is if the citizen of South Africa cannot protect themselves with a gun, then why should the top poppies in the ANC have, like Bekesele has about 10 armed men walking around with him the whole time? You know, why should they have the special protection if the average man in the street can't?
Yeah, well, I can understand that he needs protection because his own voters wants to burn him, but he cannot argue that. So I can understand his motive for want to be protected. What I do not understand is you say you may not have a firearm to enforce that, and now what we're getting at is, for the same value, you should abandon that. You should say his Oaks doesn't need firearms. What is good for him is good for us. And that the same right through the bank. So there's no law which makes his life more precious than mine. So
he's a public servant.
He's a public servant. If he did his job better, then the country would have loved him, and he would walk in the streets, and he would need a couple of old ladies to just chat to his followers and to collect the amounts of flowers and stuff they want to give him. So a guy who doesn't do his job is going into a dictatorship, and this is exactly where they're heading to, and this is why things is happening like this. It's not that he honestly believes in anything he wants to propagate. He wants us to be disarmed because a dictatorship can only work with subordinates, which is defenseless. And this is where this is their ultimate goal, is to have a defenseless society. Now, getting back to the point of licensing firearms or restricting licensed firearms, if the government can show any indication of a decline in crime from unlicensed firearms, then we can view them out of a different perspective. But as this unlicensed firearms is getting more and more a problem, the minister should actually take in consideration that he's addressing the wrong crowd. And we need to actually get this in front of a judge to actually make a ruling on what we're saying, because I think 85% or what of the country people will actually tell you this offhand. You know, that it's public knowledge that it's the unlicensed firearms which is an indication of failure of the police, which is the actual problem.
Well, I have a, a tongue-in-cheek, just clearly a tongue-in-cheek suggestion on this issue. We know that the building where all the applications for firearm licenses are being held is just full of piles of paper. It's just full. The whole building is just full of these applications. Now, just like a few weeks ago, that library at UCT was burnt to the ground during that fire, wouldn't it be fortuitous if all those documents with everybody's address and their names and their license details suffered the same fate? Because then they would not be able to track where those guns are, those regular licensed guns are, because all that documentation would have disappeared. And when we talk about unlicensed guns, you'd have a situation where the honest gun owner would now be on a par, because he would not have to abide by this regulation where he has to hand in his gun. It seems like and I say it again, it's a tongue-in-cheek suggestion, but it would certainly get rid of the information that they would need to actually go and confiscate someone's gun, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I honestly want to tell you, I don't think it will make a difference. If that building had burned down, they wouldn't have known more or less than what they know at this point in time.
Absolutely clueless.
They're clueless anyway. And even the system, I mean, they go for a system where an independent body actually certify that you're a competent person to handle X, Y, or Z firearm. Now, I'm saying they base their decision already on privately owned non-government institutions who's certifying you to be able to carry a gun. So we just need the next step, that it's a non-government authority which actually issued the license.
Yeah. Look, I get what you're saying, but look, I don't think this ANC government. Well, I know they haven't got a clue of what they're doing, and this is what worries me about the Open Society Foundation, who seem to be pulling all the strings in the background. Now, there are a couple of declarations you want to make tonight, and I'll just read out those declarations, and you can talk to them, okay? The first one is you're calling for support to lodge a court application to first ask the court to declare the Minister of Police unfit to possess firearms, and second, to declare that an unfit organisation cannot administrate firearm licenses. Do you want to just talk to that?
Scott, can I ask you, I need to run quickly. Can you just keep the viewers busy for...
Yeah, I'll keep the meter going while you go. Yeah, look, I've been there, I've done that. Okay, many times. All right, guys, while Marius is just sorting something out, let me just have a look at the side chat. All right, now, I guess the main issue we're talking about here, guys, is quite simple. Just last night, I interviewed Flippy van Dijk, a farmer who was attacked in his house by 20 police. Yes, you heard me right. He was attacked in his house by 20 police over an allegation that he had assaulted someone, which currently they're fighting in court, and I believe they're going to win the case. The point is, these 20 police came onto his farm, went into his house, and beat him to a pulp. He actually had to go into hospital and have brain surgery. And he now has strokes the whole time. And this is as a direct result of the assault by police on Flippy, who unsurprisingly is a white guy. And the issue here is that 6 years ago, the police took his gun off him soon after he moved onto the farm. So he has got nothing to defend himself with. So that you have the situation where he is defenseless. and his wife no longer goes to the farm. She actually stays with a friend closer to where she works because it's too dangerous to go to the farm where Flippy lives. This is the reality of what's happening in South Africa. If farmers do not have guns, they are defenseless, not just against the crims who've got illegal guns, but against the police, the very people who are supposed to be defending the public. This is how crazy it has become in South Africa. Now I see that Marius is back. Wow, that was quick, Marius.
Yes.
Successful pit stop?
Yes, thank you.
Good. You look like you look a bit more relieved. Okay, let me get back to that. Let me get back to that question. You wrote, I call for support to lodge a court application to first ask the court to declare the Minister of Police unfit to possess firearms, and second, to declare that an unfit organization cannot administrate firearm licenses. Please talk to that.
Yes. Now, with this subject, I call upon public to actually support this, because you may not even possess a firearm, but you need to understand that your support will have more people licensing firearms and carrying licensed firearms. So even if you don't have a firearm at this point in time, you need to support us in this matter, to lodge this court application, and at a later stage, when we have more clarity on how we will do this, we will need some financial support to push this through, because it's going to be an expensive legal matter, and then we want to ask the public to actually contribute to make this happen, as I'm a poor man and I cannot afford to pay this legal fees to actually improve the life of everybody.
Yeah. Now.
So yeah.
Yeah. Now, has anyone approached Saatlanders? Because this is right down their alley. You know, people protecting themselves. Surely this is a court action that Saatlanders have got the money to take up.
I to be honest, I don't think Saatlanders is financially very strong. I don't know. I don't know their side mechanics, but the point I'm making is we should all club in this together. You know, a poor man would give $50, and a wealthy man can put in 10 grand. The point is that this is not for an organization. This is for a public outcry to actually resist this crooked government. So yes, the Saatland, there's a lot of firearm enthusiastic groups which I've already am in contact with, and they also canvass with their members to contribute through their channel. But the general public should already make in his mind a decision whether or not he will contribute a contribution to this. At this point in time, it will be pointless to give a account or anything to contribute now, because we don't know what we're in for at this moment.
We don't actually have an account set up where they can contribute to either.
No, and but as we go along, we will inform public how to contribute if they wish to. When we actually have the facts, at this point in time, there is a small problem in terms of you cannot attack a law in the court, because the court is legalized by the law. so our first step in this is not to challenge the law, but like I said in that declaration you read out, the first step is to get the court to enforce the current law, which actually the law states that if you the representative, like head of a security company, and your subordinates lost guns, you can be as a entity lose your right to rights to firearms. And so what I'm saying is our first court action would be to ask a court to declare the cops, the South African Police Service, unfit to have firearms.
Right.
So that's not changing the law. That is asking a court to support the current law. The second part of it would be to ask the court, because we have a problem that the police is now unfit and an unfit body cannot issue firearms, to ask a court to make an interim ruling in terms of appointing some let's call it a panel of judges and representatives from private gun enthusiastic groups like gun owners of South Africa and SA Jagtersvereniging and all of the smaller groups to actually sit on this board to help to get this thing which is in shambles at the moment in a better situation.
Right. Okay. Now look, we've talked about the idea of having an independent firearm licensing authority and the issuing of licenses parallel outside the government. Now, is there anything you'd like to add to our discussion on that point, Maurice?
No, I don't think there's much more to say because it talks for itself. You know, everybody can see we need to get rid of the cops to do this. They cannot, and we cannot trust them with it. And so we would need to put something else in place. Because if one thinks clearly about this, you want firearms to be controlled. That's not what we don't want to fight the controlling of firearms. We just want to control it in a more sensible way. So for that matter, we need all the enthusiastic groups to actually come to the party. There's a group which an attorney has contacted me and gave me the information. Dis die Verenigde Vuurwapens Associasie, something like that. I don't know if I remember the name correctly, but they actually have come to the party in a great way, and we're going to have some chats very soon to see how we can join forces and actually push this. But yeah, it's for every citizen which have a concern to actually support this, yes.
Yeah, look, in a country like South Africa, the right to defend yourself with a gun is critical. I mean, it's I'll tell you, in Australia, nobody owns a gun. But the difference is that in Australia, the number of illegal guns held by criminal gangs, you could probably count on one hand. I mean, they've got it so well under control here that guns are no longer an issue. But in South Africa, you got literally hundreds of thousands of illegal guns all over the place. As you said, every second taxi driver's got a revolver. You know, it is chaotic when it comes to the gun situation in that country.
Yeah, well, if you take it like Julius Malema take a AK-47 in full view of the whole world and pull off a couple of shots at the stadium, and nothing happens. Then it show you, and I've shown that to my 9-year-old son, that video, and he tells me that that's a real gun. But the prosecuting authority states they cannot tell it's a real gun.
Oh, of course they'll say that because they're just corrupt. They're all corrupt. Now, Nat Quinn made a statement earlier. She said the SAAI today sent a letter to all embassies and the United Nations on Article 25 today, and that's the expropriation without compensation. So we'll watch that space and see what comes of that. All right, now, Marius, I'm going to wrap up this discussion. I want to thank you so much for coming on again and chatting to us about this very, very contentious and topical subject. Is there something you'd like to just say in closing?
Scott, I think we said it all. I want to thank people to have listened to this discussion, and I want them to actually think about this, talk to their neighbors, talk to their friends, and get involved, because what we need here is a energy field of putting by public energy field the message across to the police and to Becky Shelley in person that don't mess with us. We're gonna not even dispute your new silly proposals. We're gonna dispute your ability to actually make such proposals.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Marius. Now, I'm just in closing, guys, I want to remind you that 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, I have a live stream with Petra Sito at Senecal, and we're going to be covering the bail hearing of these alleged murderers of Brendan Horner. And then tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we're going to have a jamming session. So we're able to chill out, relax, kick up your heels, dance on the tables like Fiona always does, and she'll have her diamond encrusted high-heeled shoes, no doubt, and a long slit up her black dress. Yep, I know, Fee. We have a lot of fun with the jamming sessions anyway. All right, guys, please take care. And I just want to once again thank you, Marius, for joining us tonight and discussing this very serious subject. Let's keep in touch, and if people need to contact you, Marius, what's the best way for them to do it? Is it through my email and I can forward their information to you, or do you want to give out something direct?
Scott, I proposed that because on a previous chat I gave my number and I had maybe 500 calls, and for 3 days I couldn't use my phone. Okay. So sorry for this round. I'm not going to hand out my number.
I totally understand. Okay, guys, so look, if one of the mods can put my email address in the side chat and just send me an email, and I'll make sure that Marius gets it and he can contact you. In the email, please put your cell phone number so Marius can make direct contact. All right, guys, take care, and thank you so much for the moderators for keeping the side chat clean and fair. And I hope you all enjoyed this discussion. As I said just now, it's a very important subject. Have a great evening, and take care. Bye for now. Oh, and I'll leave the side chat open for a few minutes. Cheers, Marius.
Cheers, Scott.